So who needs that morning coffee or even an energy drink? Now you can get pick-me-up from another classic snack.
That's right. PepsiCo's Frito-Lay is rolling out a new variation of Cracker Jacks of all things. They're called Cracker Jacked. The line includes power bites that contain the same amount of caffeine as a single cup of coffee. We're familiar with single cups of coffee around here. The energy-boosting snacks aren't on shelves yet, but already nutrition activist groups are raising lots of red flags, warning kids could overdose on caffeine if they have more than one serving. Now, just this week, the FDA began reviewing reports of 13 deaths associated with the energy shot 5-Hour Energy, and heart attacks, shrieking, and crying. Here we go, Christy. My favorite story of the day. Just some of the symptoms one might experience while watching the latest Twilight flick.
Excitement for this final film has been so high.
Later this morning, we should learn the fate of, I get to say it again, ho-hos, ding-dongs, and Twinkies, as well as some 18,000 employees of Hostess Brands. The baked goods maker threatened to liquidate the company if striking employees weren't back to work by 5 last night, but that decision will likely come today. Our Marnie McLean has more from the picket line outside the Hostess Bakery in Biddeford, Maine.
Come on now.
With all the international and national news, you may not know it's a very interesting time in Massachusetts politics. Senator John Kerry is rumored to be joining the Obama administration, and Governor Patrick is dodging talk about his potential move to Washington. So what does this mean for the governor's seat here in the Commonwealth? Well, enter Lieutenant Governor Tim Murray. And as our political reporter Allison King tells us, his recent comments weren't a surprise, but his timing was.
I'm one of the closest observers of...
And now, from New England's news station, this is the News at 5.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Christy Lee.
And I'm Justin Michaels in for Eric this morning. We're going to have more on those stories and many more coming up. But first, here's Danielle Niles with your forecast.
Weather brought to you by Ford. Go further.
Good morning, Justin and Christy. Good morning, New England.
Change is coming to the Boston Archdiocese 288 parishes. Cardinal Sean O'Malley approved a new plan that will reorganize those parishes into 135 clusters. It aims to help the Archdiocese deal with worsening finances and attendance, as well as a priest shortage without having to shut down. Under the plan, 1 to 4 parishes will be combined and led by a single pastor. The compounding pharmacy industry is urging Congress not to give the Food and Drug Administration greater oversight into their industry. A top lobbyist in a Senate hearing on the multi-state meningitis outbreak yesterday testified that state and federal regulators could have shut down the New England Compounding Center of Framingham, Massachusetts years ago under the existing laws. The chairman of the Senate's Health Committee is pledging to move ahead with new rules. Troubling numbers on the front lines. The Army is reporting 20 possible suicides by active duty soldiers last month alone. Now that brings the total for the year to 166, one more than 2011. This comes despite the Pentagon's attempt to reduce the numbers by increasing programs and outreach. And while those suicides have been linked to combat stress, many of the suicide victims are soldiers who have never deployed.
And now, from New England's news station, this is the News at 6.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Christy Lee.
And I'm Justin Michaels. We're going to have more on those stories and many, many more coming up. But first, here's Danielle Niles with your forecast.
Weather brought to you by Ford. Go further.
6 o'clock on the dot here on this Friday morning.
Well, there are disturbing new allegations against former Massachusetts State Senator James Marzelli. The Boston Herald reports a woman told police that Marzelli wasn't wearing any pants while he watched her rake leaves. Marzelli says he was wearing shorts. The state probation department is now looking into this. Marzelli has not been charged, though. He's already on a 5-year probation plan that requires him to receive mental health counseling, also wear a GPS bracelet, and perform community service.
Family of a Massachusetts teenager.
Boston Cardinal Sean O'Malley has approved a plan to reorganize Boston's Archdiocese, nearly 300 parishes. The new clusters will combine between 1 and 4 parishes, and they'll each be headed by a single pastor and run by merged staffs. The Archdiocese is hoping to deal with worsening finances, also attendance, and a looming priest shortage without shutting down any parishes. Right now, about 16% of Boston Catholics regularly attend Mass.
Final members. It is now 6:07. Up next, Danielle joins us with a check of the forecast, plus get a live look at the roads.
Also ahead, a terrible story. It's involving a train, also a veterans parade in West Texas. We'll have the latest on this investigation. All right, it's 6:12, and today, former CIA Director David Petraeus will answer questions for the first time since he resigned over his affair. But today's hearing is not focused on that. Lawmakers want to know what he knows about the attack in Libya that killed 4 Americans. Tracy Potts reports from Washington.
Well, Mr. President.
It is now 6:25. Welcome back to NECN. I'm Christy Lee alongside Justin Michaels. Future of Twinkie is hanging in the balance this morning.
Isn't that sad to hear? Hostess Brands is expected to make an announcement about its future today, specifically whether it's going to liquidate its business. The company had a set deadline of 5 o'clock last night to make a decision. Thousands of workers in Hostess's second largest union went on strike last week after rejecting a contract offer that cut wages and benefits.
U.S. Postal Service is reporting a record loss. The agency says it lost $15 billion in 2012. That is triple what the Postal Service lost last year. Officials warned that if the post office does not receive legislative help from Congress, the agency could lose more than $21 billion by 2016.
Mortgage rates have hit another all-time low. Freddie Mac says the average rate on a 30-year loan has dropped to, get this, 3.34%. This is the lowest rate on records dating back to 1971. The average rate on a 15-year fixed mortgage also hit a new record low.